After the trial and the verdicts, the questions about Lucy Letby, the nurse found guilty of murdering babies, about the evidence, the experts and statistics have not stopped. It's been the opposite. And so today, in front of cameras from across the globe, alongside Lucy Letby's defence barrister was the MP, Sir David Davis.
And put right what I think, anyway, is one of the major injustices in modern times.
And two neonatologists who are part of a panel of international medical experts. They've put together what they say is an impartial, evidence-based report on the case. And this is their conclusion.
In summary, ladies and gentlemen, we did not find any murders. In all cases, death or injury were due to natural causes or just bad medical care.
During one of the longest murder trials in British legal history, the jury was told about the events inside this hospital and the deaths of babies who Lucy Letby had been caring for on the neonatal unit. Medical experts gave evidence for the prosecution, saying they believed babies had been deliberately harmed, that different methods had been used, including insulin and injecting air into IV tubes to cause a deadly air embolus. The jury was told other experts disagreed, but those experts weren't called by the defence to give evidence in court. The doctor saying today that he doesn't believe Lucy Letby murdered any babies is known for his research on air embolus. In fact, his research was significant in the prosecution's case, but he claims the evidence actually points away from air embolus, pointing instead, he says, to factors like treatment delays and medical mistakes.
They were caring for babies that were probably beyond their expected ability or designated level of care. There were unsafe delays in diagnosis and treatment of acutely ill patients. There were poor skills at resuscitation and intubation. There was poor supervision of junior doctors in procedures like intubation. There were poor skills in basic medical procedures like insertion of chest tubes.
What we have shown is, as Professor Lee has outlined to you, that there were plausible reasons, very, very plausible reasons for these babies' deaths. There was a combination of babies being in the wrong place, delivered in the wrong place, delayed diagnosis, and inappropriate or absent treatment.
Those factors were raised in the court case. The barrister who represented Lucy Letby at the time argued at the trial and in the Court of Appeal that the nurse was scapegoated for substandard care. The Court of Appeal also heard the arguments over air embolus before ruling against Lucy Letby, while Cheshire Police say their investigation remains open and active. In the eyes of the law, Lucy Letby is guilty, serving a whole life sentence for murdering 7 babies and trying to murder 7 others. Today, though, her new legal team took a next legal step in their efforts to change that, with a formal application to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, the CCRC, which has said work has begun on assessing her case.
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the MP, Sir David Davis, a prominent member of the campaign to have Lucy Letby's conviction reconsidered. I asked him what effect, if any, the intervention from these medical experts today may have.
Well, firstly, I hope it's persuasive. I mean, these are some of the most, more than a dozen of the most authoritative experts in the world in a whole range of things, from neonatal studies through to forensics, and they've come to pretty much a unanimous set of conclusions as to what actually happened to the children at the Countess Chester Hospital, and in essence have said there were no murders. There were a lot of deaths from natural causes, sometimes exacerbated or accelerated by suboptimal care.
But for this case to go back to the Court of Appeal, the Criminal Cases Review Commission need to have new evidence, don't they? And was there new evidence today?
Well, really? Yeah, this was new in the sense it was a proper interpretation of the of the case notes of all of these children, something which, frankly, the jury has not seen before. This is plainly an injustice. It's very clear from what these experts say. I mean, I'm not a medical expert. What these experts say, that there was no murder, that there was a dramatic increase in the number of deaths, but there were other causes for that, not Lucy Letby.
I suppose our viewers may well be wondering the perfectly obvious question: why wasn't this sort of evidence presented by Lucy Letby's defence team during her trials?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I can speculate. I mean, it may be that they felt that they knocked down all of the evidence that had been presented by Dowie Evans, that's the expert witness, and others during the course of the case. If you had a criminal case, let's say a murder or whatever, in the past, and suddenly you got evidence that made it plain to you that the conclusion of the trial was wrong, then you want to do something about it, and that's where we are today. And
but there have been, Sir David, there have been 2 trials, and the Court of Appeal, 3 judges unanimously rejected an appeal.
The appeal court, actually the Law Commission at the moment is considering the rules governing the appeal court. Why? Because, take your point about new evidence. Let's imagine this evidence was available to her lawyers way back during the first trial, but they chose not to use it. She gets sent to prison for a whole life sentence because her lawyers have made a mistake. That may be judicially convenient. It's not any definition of justice that I've ever come across, and I don't suppose your viewers would think that either.
Have you spoken to any of the victims' families about your campaign?
No. I mean, I feel huge sympathy for them. I mean, how can you feel anything else? You know, those of us who have children know how terrible it might be to lose any of the children. But if I were in their position, I'd want to know the truth. I want to know that what happened to my baby wouldn't happen to another baby. I'm afraid the process we've been through here has not got to that until today, when you've heard about the suboptimal care and the problems with a number of the children, which might have been, we only know might have been, we can't say for sure, might have been resolved with better care.
And if, as some of these experts have suggested today, there were no murders, I mean, it will raise some really quite fundamental questions, won't it, for the British justice system and for the NHS?
It will. It'll raise questions about expert witnesses, questions which actually were addressed about 15 years ago, in 2011, and were not properly resolved then. They were put into guidance, but they weren't necessarily followed. Questions about how the appeal process works, that's actually being reviewed right now as we sit here. And you're quite right, questions about how the National Health Service, as it were, heals itself, fixes the problems that lead to these tragedies, and prevents them happening in the future. All of those questions will arise out of this, actually almost irrespective of the Letby outcome, but certainly if Letby is eventually found innocent.